There's a place on Earth where time stops, where climbers collapse just steps from their dreams and stay frozen there for decades. Mount Everest, the tallest mountain on the planet and the most expensive place to die. Over 300 bodies remain on its slopes, not because no one cares, but because it's too dangerous, too cold, and far too costly to bring them down. And here's the part no one tells you. If you die up there, your insurance might not cover it. Your family could be left with nothing but grief and a six-figure bill. Today we're pulling back the curtain on the harsh truth of Everest's death insurance dilemma. What really happens when someone dies up there? Is rescue even possible? What does insurance actually cover? And what about the Sherpas, the real heroes of the mountain? This isn't just about adventure. It's about risk, money, life, and death. 8,000 meters above the clouds. So lace up. It's going to be a steep climb. They call it the death zone for a reason. Above 8,000 meters, your body begins to die, whether you're climbing or standing still. There's only about a third of the oxygen up there compared to sea level. And no matter how fit you are, your brain and organs are starving with every breath. You're quite literally racing the clock. Every step is a gamble. One wrong move, one miscalculation, and you become another statistic, another landmark on the mountain. Climbers even give nicknames to some of the bodies. Green Boots is probably the most famous. He's been lying near a cave on the northeast ridge since 1996. People step over him on their way to the summit. And what makes it worse? Sometimes it's not the mountain that kills you, it's the crowd. In 2019, over 200 climbers tried to reach the summit on a single day. It created a traffic jam in the death zone. People stood in line, barely moving, running out of oxygen while waiting their turn like they were in line for a roller coaster. Only this one ends with frostbite, not a souvenir photo. And still, people come back, because that summit draws dreamers like a magnet. Some train for years, others train their credit cards. And Everest doesn't care either way. So what if something goes wrong? Hey, real quick, when was the last time you did something unforgettable? Viator makes it crazy easy to book real adventures. Everest Base Camp, Kilimanjaro, Tokyo, everything. I actually used it myself, and no joke, best decision I've ever made. Don't just watch other people live life, go live yours. Links below. Let's say you break a leg at 7,500 meters. Or worse, you collapse from altitude sickness. Can you be rescued? Well, not really. Below 6,000 meters, a helicopter might be able to reach you. It'll cost you, but there's at least a chance. Above that, you're on your own. The air gets so thin that helicopters can't generate enough lift. Even the best pilots can't defy physics. Now imagine you're higher up in the death zone, struggling to breathe. Rescue missions there are almost impossible. Not because people don't want to help, but because helping might kill them too. In fact, 2 Nepali climbers died in 1984 while trying to retrieve a body. And that's not an isolated case. Every year, guides risk their lives for clients who ignored the signs and pushed too far. Even if a rescue is attempted, it's not cheap. A basic helicopter lift from base camp could cost $20,000. From higher up, the price jumps to $60,000. And if you need a team to bring a body down from the summit, that can hit $200,000. No, that's not a typo. You could buy a house or bring someone down from Everest. So climbers face an impossible question. How much is your life worth at 8,000 meters? And if you die, who's going to pay the bill? Because up there, rescue isn't guaranteed. But the risks? They're included in every step. Dying on Everest doesn't just break hearts. It can break bank accounts too. The average cost of climbing Everest already ranges from $50,000 to $130,000. But if you die, the financial meter doesn't stop ticking. In fact, it starts running even faster. Recovering a body from Everest isn't just difficult. It's an extreme expedition in itself. It often takes a team of high-altitude Sherpas, oxygen tanks, ropes, pulleys, and weeks of effort. That's assuming the weather holds and the location is accessible. Some bodies are so frozen into the mountainside, they've practically become part of the landscape. The price? Retrieval from the death zone can cost up to $200,000. And even from lower altitudes, you're still looking at $20,000 to $60,000. It's one final invoice that hits hard and isn't always covered by insurance. Then there's the funeral back home, the flights, the paperwork, the heartbreak. Families aren't just left grieving, they're left with the mountain's final bill. And here's the kicker. Some climbers head up there with only basic life insurance. No evacuation coverage, no repatriation. It's like trying to climb Everest in flip-flops. Technically possible, but spectacularly stupid. So the mountain takes its toll. In blood, in bone, and in dollars. So, let's talk about insurance. You'd think that if you pay thousands for a climb, your insurance would have your back, right? Not always. In fact, many standard policies won't touch Everest with a 10-foot ice axe. First, you need to know the difference between life insurance and evacuation insurance. Life insurance pays your family if you die. Evacuation insurance tries to save you before that happens. Sounds simple, but the fine print, that's where the crevasses are. Some policies have altitude limits. If you're above 6,000 meters, you're out of luck. Others won't cover extreme sports unless you pay extra. Climbing the world's deadliest mountain? Yeah, that's considered a little extreme. Then there are companies like Global Rescue. They specialize in high-altitude missions. They'll cover medical evacuation even from the upper slopes if it's physically possible. Some even have 24/7 crisis teams ready to spring into action, as long as you're still alive and reachable. But even the best insurance can't promise a happy ending. Sometimes the weather turns. Sometimes rescue isn't an option. And sometimes, just sometimes, people overestimate their abilities and underestimate the mountain. One climber joked, "I wasn't afraid of Everest. I was afraid of my deductible." And honestly, that might not be far from the truth. Without proper coverage, you're not just risking your life. You're gambling with your family's future. But while climbers debate policy terms and helicopter coverage, there's one group on the mountain that rarely gets a choice: the Sherpas. These men, and yes, often the same few families, are the backbone of every Everest expedition. They carry the oxygen, fix the ropes, pitch the tents, guide the route, and often risk their lives to bring others home. Yet their insurance? It's often minimal. The average Sherpa earns around $4,000 to $5,000 in a season, more than the average Nepali salary, but still a fraction of what foreign climbers pay for the expedition. And for that paycheck, they take on risks 3 times higher than a US soldier in Iraq. Let that sink in. By law, trekking agencies must provide rescue and life insurance for Sherpas, but the coverage is modest, around $4,600 if they die, and only slightly more if they're permanently injured. One Sherpa, Angtemba, suffered a stroke while working, recovered, went back because he had no choice, and became paralyzed on his next expedition. His compensation? Just over $5,000? It's heartbreaking. These men are heroes, quiet, unseen, overworked heroes. They don't get headlines, they don't get documentaries, but without them, no one climbs Everest, period. As Grayson Schaffer once put it, the best way to reduce your risk on Everest is to pay someone else to carry your stuff. The truth is, Sherpas carry more than just gear. They carry the burden of everyone else's dreams. So what really happens if you die on Everest? Most likely, nothing. You stay there, frozen, silent. Another ghost on the roof of the world. Your body might become a landmark, a cautionary tale, or blurred figure in the background of someone else's summit selfie. Your name might make the news for a day. Maybe a few people will remember. But the mountain? The mountain never notices.